Okay, so the absolute amazing talent I am joined by today, I mean, needs no introduction. Unka smile hi kafi hai.
Oh
And
God.
as always, we always have such a wonderful chat. So, Juhi ma'am, thank you so much for joining me on filmeshilmy.com. It's always an honor to have you on our platform.
Thank you so much, Anuj. You gave me such a bright welcome. I felt, wow, the day has just begun.
well, देखो अब I think एक vibrant personality के लिए एक vibrant welcome तो बनती है. So absolutely, pleasure is all ours. Well, look, I mean, a huge congratulations on Friday Night Plan, which is releasing on Netflix this week. It's a very special film because you Babil is in the movie, and you've worked with Babil's father very interestingly in the comedy space before, and now you're working with his son.
Yeah.
So, how would you say? I mean, it must have been very nostalgic, emotional, poignant, so many of these emotions. So, if you could talk me through that, that would be great.
Yeah, that's sure with pleasure because I felt that too at that day when I was shooting with Babil and the other little boy. I actually don't have the right words to express what I felt because it was nostalgia, it was very deep, it was wonder at the way the universe takes you places, gives you experiences that you just left wondering how is this all designed. I worked with Irfan ji. It was his very first film, Sade Saat Phere. It was a cute film. I remember I had loved the script for the first half. The second half I kept telling them please improve it, it's such a lovely premise. Anyway, working with Irfan ji, so I didn't know him. I didn't know where he's coming from. And he had this unusual look about him. He's not the usual chocolate faced person,
Mm.
hero material. So I didn't know what to think of him. And then, but I'm like, yeah, yes, good actor. You know, as he kept doing more films, I became a fan. I used to watch Irfanji's films just because he was in them, because he was so amazing on screen. He was so natural and so there was so much charm in what he did. So I was an Irfan Khan fan later on, starting from I don't know what to think of this actor, and to later going on to becoming somebody who watched the films just because Irfan was in it.
Right.
And then, Irfanji passes away, and it just so happens that I have done uh, Luck by Chance and Sharma Ji Namkeen with Excel.
True.
So lovely films, had very nice experiences with Excel Entertainment. So it was during the promotions of Sharma Ji Namkeen when Ritesh told me, Juhi, I want to talk to you. There's a little guest appearance, a little small thing. I want you to do it. And I
Mm.
was like, okay, I'll meet you. I'll listen to it. You tell me what it's about and all that. And he said, no, wait 1 minute. I'm telling you, your kids will be happy that you did this film.
Mm.
So when he said that, I was like, acha, you don't know my films, don't you? I mean, my children don't watch my films. But if you tell me that this may be a film that they will watch, I think I'm on whatever the film is. So that's how I got into it. And it was later that I got to know, okay, Babil is going to be acting. He's playing my son. And that day when I was sitting with him and we're doing that scene at the breakfast table, I just was like, Babil's first film, Irfanji's first film. And
Yeah.
I just happened to be a little common thread.
Right, for sure, absolutely. Well, I'm glad you mentioned Sharma Ji Namkeen because yes, of course, it is another venture you are working with in regards to Excel Entertainment. But I think looking at the two characters that you've played with them, very powerful roles. May not be, of course, like like you said, obviously screen time, of course, is often a thing, but here you're playing a single mom, right? I mean, that's the character that I got from the trailer.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's very interesting how even if we look back in Bhutnath, where you played a mom who was very compassionate but very strong, supporting the child, and here again we kind of see that sort of a sort of a flavor to the character. How do you feel like being a mother in real life has really helped you in sort of bringing that warmth to the roles that you play?
Bapre. Bapre.
No Mare, actually.
Clever. Clever. Okay. All right, we give you that. So, so about this, mom. I think in my life itself, my children have changed me completely. It's before that, I used to think this world begins and ends only with me. It's all about me. But the moment I had children, I realized nothing is about me. You know, it's about your heart is outside your heart. What is it they say about children, that that's the time you feel like your heart is walking outside of yourself. It's
Hmm.
literally that. So yes, that's what then prepared me for roles like Bhutnath or whatever. I treat them as I treat my kids at home. Um, and yeah, but I don't. So the director, somewhere this is all inspired from his own life. It's his mom, who was, his father passed away when the kids were quite small, him and his brother. And then she was a chartered accountant, and, she supported them, and they grew up into the kids they are, I mean, the people they are today. And so this is somewhere he picked it up from there. Um,
Hmm.
so it was very, very close to him, and it is very close to him. And I just want to say it was just a coincidence. But again, like you said about Irfan and Babil, um, what happened with this, when we're preparing for a role, ek to, I'm there for I'm a guest appearance role, yeah.
Hmm.
So they've already been shooting the film. All of them are into it. I come in and now I'm to play my part.
Oh.
So when we're preparing to kind of, how does the lady dress? Because like you said, she's a single mom. So, she will not be colorful, and she will not be that bright because she's working every day. She's managing home. She's managing kids and hoping that it's all staying together. And she has those little concerns that, my kids should stay out of trouble, because she's lost her husband. So she's protective about them.
Hmm.
Anyway, so we're preparing for the role and all, and I'm like getting dressed, and I'm saying, okay, she'll wear a sari. This is how it will be. Director gives us some little thing. Then when we're getting dressed, I'm finding my face very blank because I can't have, when I, she's very simple.
Hmm.
The character I play. I said, let me wear a little black bindi, just something. Third day, that was my last day of shooting with them. The third day I was shooting at night. His mom comes to the sets to, kind of uh,
Oh, so that was.
meet, because somewhere I'm playing her.
Hmm.
And you know what? She said, like, she also wears a little black bindi. And I was like, isn't that just amazing, that I was groping ki main kya karu? I can't wear a red bindi. I can't wear any big, nothing, nothing, nothing. I'm very plain. Let me put a little black bindi. And it just so happens that his mom, all her life, like after her husband passed away, she used to wear a black bindi.
Arey,
So
wow.
I was like, again, how the universe just helps you, and
Yeah,
how it connects.
yeah, literally. Um, how do you feel about the sort of representation we're seeing of moms? Rani Mukherjee, who was also a contemporary of yours, did a tremendous film called Mrs. Chatterjee
Yeah,
versus.
yeah, yeah.
I
Yes.
mean, how do you feel? And even Sheba Chadda, if we look at the roles she's doing, she's really championing the role of a modern Indian woman
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
as well. So, how do you feel about the representation of mothers in Indian cinema nowadays?
I think, and not just about mothers, but generally, I think about everything. The packaging changes, but the center, the emotions, that the care, the love and care, that will remain the same, whether it's mothers, whether it's relationships. those things, those, the core,
Hmm.
that is the same. 50 years ago, 20 years ago, today, and God willing, tomorrow. You see, you see deeply, everything around today, yeah, modern technology, mobile phones, this, that, and that. Mummy will still ask you, तूने कुछ खाया पिया कि नहीं? तू कहाँ जा रहा है? तू कब पहुंच रहा है? घर कब पहुंच रहा है? ठीक से घर आ जाना. Mummy used to say this in a certain way 50 years ago also and 100 years ago also. So that never changes. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's how I feel it is.
Right. So I think moving on slightly and speaking a bit more about evolvement, it is very interesting because 2023 actually marks, I think, what, 30 years since two of your most iconic films, which is, of course, Darr and Hum Hain Rahi Pyar Ke.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
I mean, थोड़ा सा भारी सवाल है. I'm so sorry, Juhi ma'am. I know it gets a
Ah,
little bit flustering when I ask these big questions, but I have to ask you. I mean, if you're looking back at that Juhi Chawla then, because you were fresh in the industry. I mean, you had, Miss India, you had that whole massive breakthrough, but now you look at yourself and you're a lot more mature. Things have happened in your life. How would Juhi Chawla of today look back at that Juhi Chawla who worked in Dar and Hum Hai Rahi Pyar Ke, which were two contrasting films as well?
well, you're right about one thing. Life changes you. So I am today not the same person that I was in any of my films earlier. Um, because that was a different time and a different time in your head, everything. Um, I can just be deeply grateful because I say I was given some extraordinary chances and I am so lucky. I got to work with, I didn't realize at that moment when I was going through that phase that what I'm working with, will become memorable or and these people that I'm working with will make me look so lovely that 20, 30 years later, you'll still say, Arey, that was really nice. I had no idea. Nobody has any idea. And so I am just so grateful that I got to work with directors like, look at this, Mahesh Bhaji. Oh, I had such a mad time, fun time laughing on the sets of Hame Rahi Pyar Ke and enacting those scenes. And I was working with Yash Chopra ji, whose films we had just seen on screen and said, oh my God, the heroine always looks so lovely in his films. And suddenly I was getting a chance to be that heroine.
Mm.
Wow, wow. Or, any Aziz Mirza ji, what lovely films. Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman, Yes Boss. Arey Baba, I think I've just been very fortunate.
And I think we've been even more fortunate to witness you as well on the big screen and see the amazing works that have transpired. But I think again, if we look at Hum Hai Rahi Pyar Ke and Dar specifically, they were very different for the style of films that Mahesh ji made back then, and even Yash ji also, because Dar kafi had tak
Yeah,
adult themed film thi, and it was on the thriller sort of a
yeah,
zone which Yash ji visits after so many years. And again, Mahesh ji is known for very hard-hitting social drama, family
right.
films. So I guess for you, I think that's also very synonymous with you because even though you've had that effervescent commercial feel, but you've always been very unafraid to step into territories which were different from the times. Um, have you always been fearless?
No, I always used to try and tread on familiar ground.
Oh, really? Tell me more about that, please. I would love to hear more about that, actually.
No, I, but then so actually at that time of my life, I was not, and I still am not. I'm just very like I like things in the comfort space and in familiar faces, familiar spaces. Yeah, I do. Oh gosh, thank you if you think I'm like all out there and trying to do break barriers, but I think
Mhm.
most of the time I played the sweeter, happier, fun films. And then, of course, serious films, but with, again, stories that everybody could relate to. I thought so, because I would just listen to stories, and I always do. Listen to stories or listen to directors as though I'm the audience and I'm just watching a film. And how would this come out? That's it.
But again, another interesting point, which we did talk about in our previous interview, is again the social issues that a lot of your films highlight. Chahe Anjane Mein ya, because
Hmm.
you've chosen them, that's a different point. But even if we look at a commercial ensemble film like Salame Ishq, which I actually don't think gets talked about enough in your filmography, again, it deals with extramarital affairs. It again deals with a very serious topic that relates to the society. और अगर जूही जी अगर देखा जाए तो we're seeing the revival of messaging through commercial cinema. Point in
Yeah.
case Rocky और रानी की प्रेम कहानी. How do you feel about the revival of the combination, rather, the social messaging and the sort of commercial films? How do you feel about this fusion now becoming a very sellable source now at the box office?
Now kya? I think it's been wonderful throughout. If you can combine entertainment with a little lovely message, just slipped in, and then I think you've got a winner. You can be watching that film for the next couple of decades. And yeah, and there's so many of them. So many. I mean, Raju Hirani's films, they're so wonderful, but then they're always telling you something. They're always telling you something. Even Aziz G's films, they're telling you about ambition and greed and this and that, and how you can have a great life just living simply. Uh, and they do it in a nice way, and I think that's what I really like a film, when it's just so lovely, enjoyable, and has something nice that it tells you. I think you come out of a cinema hall feeling very nice about life.
Hmm. And do you think growing up as well, do you think it's that whole feeling of, feeling better, the escapist sort of appeal that used to, audiences used to feel while watching a Hindi film? Do you think that's something which really kind of transpired into the earlier roles that you used to choose?
Very earlier roles for me, and I say even now, when you watch films now, when you're saying these things, they're coming to mind. Say a Chichore.
Hmm.
See, but they keep your attention glued, and yet they're telling you something so relevant to today and children of today. And so many films there are, and I think that's what I like about Hindi cinema. We can
Yeah.
do all this. We can do all this. We can have all the dance and the maja and the romance and the thing, and have a lovely, nice message, a nice story somewhere telling
Hmm.
you and giving you hope. After all, why not?
Yeah, for sure.
It, why not? You go to a cinema and you come out feeling good.
Hmm.
The best thing. Best thing.
Right. But I think also the most beautiful thing about Friday Night Plan is the fact that it really understands the pressures of the youth today. And I think also you've been a very huge beacon, I think, of doing that. I mean, if we look back at Hain Rahi Pyar, at the kids at that point and the pressures they were facing, even though it was a very fun film, but it kind of touches a bit on that. What has really helped you as well, again, to understand the mindset, the language of the youth today?
Does anybody quite understand the language of the youth today? I don't know.
अगर लिंगों की बात करें तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं.
But Friday Night Plan is a typical teenage, that wanting to, be part of that young social group, and then quite not fitting in, but fitting in, and wanting to do the right thing, but getting into trouble doing the naughty things. It's that whole package that you will see.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we'll have to watch out for that one then.
Yeah, and it ends on a happy note again.
Oh,
Things
great.
fall into place
Good. I
somehow.
think we need that. I think we need that. We need those films which really make us feel happy. I think that's something which I think is lacking a lot in society today. Given that, you had this image, like we were talking about, of being this commercial heroine and you always wanting to do stuff which made you feel comfortable, how tough is it to kind of rise beyond that image that one has created when you're an actor and actually try and explore and do something which is completely different and distinct?
So I'm going to say something which just happened, and I was like, yeah, actually, look at it. See, we say keep doing something different, try to be different, look different, keep changing your hair, keep changing your makeup. People might get bored looking at you, but no. On the other hand, have you seen closely? Uh, Say Sanjay Dutt, how he is on screen. He's always like that on screen, and that's what makes him memorable. People actually copy him or mimic him because there's a certain style which is true to, say, Sanjay Dutt or Sunny Ji. They have a certain way of doing things, okay? Now they become stars. They become stars because they have a certain style, they have a certain character, and that becomes their trademark, their
Takya kalam. Hmm.
huh. That's how you know, imagine if they change their voices every day. You won't know who to mimic, you won't know what to do, you won't know how to do it. But or Amit ji, hi, one shoulder up, one shoulder down, hi. And then everything just Amit ji. The moment anybody does starts to say that, you know who they are speaking of. That's what makes a star. So you don't have to keep breaking the mold. I feel now this just happened on a show or something where I went and somebody pointed it out to me that see how people mimic people who have a certain
Hmm.
style about them. They don't have to change it. Imagine if Shah Rukh Khan started talking differently. No more kaka kaka Kiran or that gesture of the arms. Are, that's his trademark. Don't take it away from him. And he doesn't need to do it everywhere, but it sets the style. So I later on I was like, okay, so be comfortable with yourself and do what resonates with you. What resonates with me is it's a story. Say I am set in Kashmir, but it's about two friends and how life just tore them apart, or that incident was just tore them apart, but then they come together. Whatever. So it's about two friends for me. And or my brother Nikhil. It's about a sister and a brother.
Beautiful.
And she stands by him no matter what it may be. Now you will say, Array, so he was different and she stood by him, but she was just being a good sister. So for me, it's a sister brother relationship, and that's what's beautiful and it's lovely. Chalo karo. Or I don't know which else.
Teen Diware again is a very notable film as well that you did, because it talks about again humanizing, uh, not glorifying criminals, but in a way understanding how they are feeling as humans, and you being that beacon of change in their lives as well.
वो part मैं भूल गई. All I remembered was when I read the script, I kept reading it. But that last moment, I went, wow. That climax of the film, I went, wow, when I was reading it. I said, ये तो करना ही.
Hmm.
So that was it.
I agree. I think it's like that balance, isn't it? Is letting that image that one has been, but then also not being afraid to explore different things or things that appeal to you is what you're trying to say, right? Just to kind
Yeah.
of
What what makes you go, Arey, this is nice. You just do it. And then
हाँ
bus.
बिल्कुल. But I think in today's day and age, what sort of scripts do you find, or what makes you go, "Arey, wah," as in a script when you read it in today's day and age? What would you say are those key points?
Um, Relatable, that somewhere you see, like in this, so I don't know the whole film and I can't divulge the whole film, but what I can say is the kids will see themselves. Anybody from age 15 to 19 is definitely going to see themselves or their friends in the film. She said this, and then it I like films which end very well, because that's the feeling you will carry out. That's what will stay with you. So the build up to that and a lovely end. For me, those things kind of seal the deal.
Hmm.
Uh, and stories, human stories that can touch you or make you laugh, or just, they should, because all over the world, language may be different. Somebody is speaking Chinese, somebody is speaking Hindi, somebody is speaking French, but they will laugh at the same things. They will cry about the same things. People, the emotions are the same all over the globe.
Hmm. Yeah, cinema is a universal language, and I think that's one thing that we've
And
over
you
the.
are saying stories. You are literally just audiovisual storytelling.
Hmm. And I think even everyone, I think that's what Hindi cinema is. It's an emotion. It's not just a cinema for us. It's something which is so linked to our emotional selves as well. And I think that's something which has always been very special. But I think also, in terms of the creativity that you have, I think it's always wonderful. Again, I can see that, Joe, the smile and the warmth that you have personally, I can see that as well in some of the roles you portray, except for maybe Gulab Gang. But, but have you ever decided,
But I was good in Gulab Gang. Anuj,
tell
if you
me,
ask what was my favorite role, actually,
huh?
to finally, so you say all throughout you're doing the similar thing. But when I really had to step out of myself and try something new was in Gulab Gang, and I loved it.
Oh yeah, I mean it's interesting because actually अगले साल 10 साल हो जाएंगे. There's so many
Oh
anniversaries
God.
coming up.
Yeah.
इतने सारे anniversaries आ रहे हैं. I think केक पे केक खाने का मौका मिलेगा हम सबको, which is great. But uh, Gulab Gang again, which is a very notable role, and I think I would never ever thought I would see you in an antagonistic role, but here you are, you did it. I mean, have you ever thought about revisiting that zone?
Array, after the film, I thought every producer in the world will wake up to a new villain. But nobody called me up for a villain's role after that. I was very disappointed.
अरे, okay.
So it was all thanks to that director, Soumik Sen. I was, this was the way he had read the role to me two, three, four times to even convince me to do the role. And I just found his performance very fascinating. So I just said I want to copy him, and that's what I did. I just copied him as much as I could and
Hmm.
did the role.
अरे वाह, that's great.
So yeah, I wouldn't have known how else to play a villain. If today you tell me play a villain, I don't know if I'll do it well. But I did it well thanks to him.
But that's the thing, though. I mean, I did ask you about revisiting that zone, but then I also realized that we're seeing great characters emerge now. जो actually villain ही नहीं है, hero नहीं है, वो जो construct था एक hero और villain का, वो बहुत ज़्यादा, it's become completely, uh, it's completely shattered. It's now literally about you playing a human as gray as it can be.
Yeah,
So do you think
yeah.
that's something which we could possibly see from, I mean, look at Hush Hush is a great example of that.
But even then, I think Hush Hush, the way it was still a safe. She's You don't know what she's been up to. You don't know what deals she's done, or how she's done them. That's all left to imaginations. They never really explore that. So it was still a safe zone. They just say she's gray and then meets with a tragic, mixed up end. Um, and yeah, I see that a lot. What you're saying totally is that people now, you don't have like earlier the hero was just good and righteous, and now it is not that. He's the hero, but he could have done a lot of things which are not totally ethical, but maybe he has a reason for doing them, and you know what, at the end of the day, he triumphs, he's your hero. And there's a lot of that happening. uh
Hmm. Have,
I
have you?
don't know
Hmm.
what really to say about this.
Yeah, I was gonna say actually and jump in here because I feel like we've seen you as an actor do amazingly, but I want to see you produce more and maybe call the shots behind the camera. ये कब होगा? मुझे बताओ.
वाह, यार सोचना पड़ेगा कुछ, मेरे को कोई ऐसी
See, it made you say अरे
स्क्रिप्ट,
बाप.
तो मैं डायरेक्टर बन जाऊंगी। छोटे मोटे काम किए हुए हैं मैंने, ऐसे एडिटिंग एडिटिंग और मैंने कहा अच्छा किया हुआ है, तो हो सकता है। But
अच्छा.
abhi nahi, I've got my hands totally full. But later on, yes, maybe someday, yes.
All right. What have you got your hands full with then? Tell us.
When you have a home and you have 2 kids, that itself takes up half your energy. Then you
True.
want to work. Then you want to do social work. Then you want to do environment work. Then you want to do a little tiny business here and there. Oh boy, it's a whole bouquet. Yeah.
It's great though. You talk about environment work, and I think if there's anyone who else I really look up to who does that is Jackie Sir. I mean, honestly, the way he's such a star campaigner for the environment, honestly, I feel like you two should team up and like do something which merges creativity with environment. Oh my God, just a food for thought. I'm just gonna leave that with
I did like, I'm surprised you know this about him, because I don't know how many people know this about him. He is, if I'm just trying to do something for the environment, I find he is miles ahead of me. Miles ahead. He has, for occasions, just to say a thank you or some greeting, he has sent a potted plant to our house. I'm
you.
like, Arre, yeah. He really, like, he goes, he used to some at one point even try to educate me about original seeds, like
Arre.
not what. And I was like, Jackie ji, aap to kisi aur hi level pe pahunch gaye ho. And the other person who I think maybe you missed this is Dia Mirza. She's another one. Oh boy, and she's, yeah. I'm no. I'm not anywhere in that league. They're just miles ahead of us. So, but I love doing what I do, and I think it makes me feel good, because I feel I'm doing it for all the kids in the world, mine and all the kids. So
Bilkul.
it
Absolutely.
makes me feel very, what do I say? Like you're doing something
Wholesome. Wholesome.
beyond.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, okay, Anuj. See you again some
For
other
sure.
time.
Definitely. All
Okay.
right. Bye.
All right. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.